In this video, me and Afnan and Ragad are going to talk about the difference and similarities between first language and second language acquisition. First language acquisition refers to the way children learn their native language. When we describe how humans acquire language, we use two different terms, learning and acquisition. For sure, there's a difference between learning and acquisition. Learning is the conscious acceptance of knowledge about a language, such as the grammar or style. Learning is an international process that needs a teacher to teach, and the teacher controls pace. On the other hand, acquisition involves the subconscious acceptance of knowledge, where information is stored in the brain through the use of communication. Acquisition doesn't presuppose teacher, and the child controls pace. When we talk about first language acquisition, we find that it is a natural process that doesn't require any conscious efforts and doesn't need instruction as well. First language acquisition completely acquire with a 100% proficiency within 6 years from the birth. There is no other alternative to first language. A person cannot decide his first language, it comes to him as inheritance birthright. Now, let's talk about stages of first language acquisition, starting from 1 month to 4 months. This stage called phoneme perception, at which infants process the sound they hear in the early months of their lives, turns their heads in the direction of sounds. They develop different patterns of crying styles to express different needs. From 4 months to 6 months, babies develop the ability to articulate velar consonants such as ga and ka. This stage known as cawing. The third stage, babbling, takes place between 6 and 8 months. Baby become able to make multisyllable or combining consonants and vowel such as papa papa. They start to produce more complex syllables such as madagaba. In this stage, child acquires some experience of the social rule of speech. Between 12 to 16 months, babies start to produce 2 words such as mommy eat, daddy go. At the adult, try to know the meaning depends on the context. When the baby reaches the age of 2 years, he can produce up to 300 words and understand 5 times as many. Now, babies start stage called telegraphic speech. This stage features humble syntactic abilities as the child develops the skill of sentence building. They produce sentence for words like nouns, verbs, and adjectives, and drop functional words like articles and prepositions. For example, baby play garden. Of course, there are factors involved in first language acquisition, such as age, personality, and motivation. At this young age, the receiving becomes more easier for the baby. He will not only develop the language, but he will master it. Also, the personality of the baby doesn't make him feel shy or hesitate. The embarrassment of the mistake in his speaking will not make him hesitate. The last factor for a child to acquire language is motivation. It is make him able to communicate with adults, get what he wants, and express himself clearly. Here's a quote by Noam Chomsky that explains the acquire a first language at a young age is inevitable for a healthy baby. He said, "We are designed to walk, that we are taught to walk is impossible." And pretty much the same is true for language. Nobody is taught language. In fact, you can't prevent the child from learning it.
Okay, now let's talk about the second language acquisition. What is the second language acquisition? Second language acquisition refers to the learning of another language or languages beside the native language. Now we differentiated between the first language acquisition and second language acquisition. The first language acquisition serves as a basis of learning the second language. The second language acquisition requires more of a conscious effort. Second language acquisition is more rapid pace of language development and occurs more often later in life. Now let's talk about the stages of second language acquisition. The first one, pre-production or the silent period, when the student takes in the new language but doesn't speak it. This period often lasts 6 weeks or longer, depending on the individual. The second is early production. The individual begins to speak using short words and sentences, but the emphasis is still on listening and absorbing the new language. There will be many errors in the early production stage. Third is speech emergent. Speech becomes more frequent. Words and sentences are longer, but the individual still relies heavily on context, clues, and familiar topics. Vocabulary continues to increase and the errors begin to decrease, especially in common or repeated interaction. Let's move to stage number 4, intermediate fluency. English language learners at the intermediate fluency stage have a vocabulary of around 6,000 words. They are beginning to use more complex sentences, and they will ask questions to clarify what they are learning in the class. At this stage, a student will use strategies from their native language to learn content in English. A student writing in this stage will help many errors, as English language learners try to master the complexity of English grammar and sentences structure. A student in this stage will also be able to understand more complex concepts. Let's move to stage number 5, which is the last one, advanced fluency. The individual communicates fluently in all contexts, and it can maneuver successfully in a new context and when exposed to new academic information. At this stage, the individual may still have an accent and use idiomatic expression incorrectly at times, but the individual is essentially fluent and comfortable communicating in the second language. Now let's talk about the factors. Age. Under the age of 10, it's easy to adapt the language during that stage. Personality. Introvert learners usually make lower progress, particularly in the development of oral skills, while extroverts will make risks and thus will give themselves much more practice. Motivation. Students who enjoy language learning and take pride in their progress will do better than those who don't. Now my friend Ragad will complete.
Afnan and Faye talked about first language and second language acquisition and the differences. As there are many differences between first language and second language, there are also many similarities. First one is, in both first and second language acquisition, universal grammar may influence learning. In second language learning, universal grammar may influence learning either independently or through the first language. Second is, in both first and second language acquisition, there are predictable stages and particular structure acquired in a set order. Individuals may move more slowly or quickly through these stages, but they cannot skip ahead. Next, in both first and second language acquisition, the learner uses context clues, prior knowledge, and interaction to comprehend language. Finally, in both first and second language acquisition, age is an important variable affecting proficiency. So that's it. Thank you for your listening.